Hello, my name is Diamond Garcia, and today we will be discussing what asynchronous learning is and what it entails. Before we can begin to dive into what asynchronous is, we first must establish what synchronous learning is. Synchronous learning is when all learners and instructors engage in the learning material at a specific time. However, that does not mean it is at the same location. Synchronous learning can take place face-to-face, i.e., a traditional classroom setting, or online. Synchronous learning allows for immediate feedback, real-time discussions, and the building of a sense of community. Now that we know what synchronous learning is, we can now dive into what asynchronous learning is. Asynchronous learning is when students engage with learning material at their own pace. This allows for flexibility in the learner's schedule. It moves from the traditional teacher-centered learning to a more student-centered learning experience. Given that students are interacting with the course materials at their own pace, there is no immediate feedback from instructors. However, there may be additional online resources that are used to help facilitate learning. There are several communication tools that instructors will implement into their asynchronous course in order to foster an interactive learning experience. Typically, with an asynchronous course, all material and communication tools will be housed in a learning management system. Two common LMS are Blackboard and Canvas. Email is one of the biggest and more important tools learners will use in asynchronous courses. Email allows them to communicate with instructors and their peers in order to seek clarification, collaborate, and ask questions. Discussion boards are also another vital form of communication that are utilized in these types of courses. This provides students a platform to engage in discussions about readings, course topics, share ideas, and instructors can even participate in order to give feedback and provide guidance. So what are the advantages to asynchronous learning? 1, it provides students the flexibility to complete coursework at their own desired pace. 2, it allows students to go back and review concepts that they may still be struggling with. And 3, another advantage to the asynchronous learning is that it makes education more accessible to a wider range of learners. These types of learners include students with disabilities, students who live in different time zones from their desired university, and students who have other priorities that would make attending traditional classes a struggle. Although there are many great benefits to asynchronous learning, there are some disadvantages to it as well. Primarily, there is limited access to getting immediate feedback from a professor. Unlike traditional learning where a student may be able to ask an instructor for feedback or clarification after a class, asynchronous learning relies heavily on communication that may take a couple of days to elicit a response. Asynchronous learning is also not a one-size-fits-all type of instruction. Students may find it difficult to pace themselves through the coursework, which takes a lot of self-discipline to do. Without regular class meetings, students may struggle to stay organized and keep up with coursework. Now let's talk about the role of the instructor. Asynchronous learning requires a shift be made from teacher-centered learning to a student-centered learning environment. With this shift, instructors take on new roles. The construction of this theory implies that students engage with course materials, assignments, and discussions all at their own pace while actively making sense of the information that is being presented. This leads instructors to move into roles such as instructional designers, facilitators, and assessors of grades and their own teaching. The role of the learners also change. With student-centered learning taking the forefront in asynchronous learning, this requires students to take an active part in their own learning by taking charge of the learning process. In order for this to happen, students are required to become proficient with the technology that they are going to be interacting with, as well as be effective communicators with both their peers and instructors. And with that being said, that is a wrap. Thank you for joining us today. I hope this information has been helpful and gives you a better understanding as to what asynchronous learning is.